The train had been gone for over an hour. The dust hadn't. It clung to the timbers of the old station, to the air, to her shoes, even in her eyelashes. But she didn't blink it away. Just stood there, still, like she was waiting for a second train that wouldn't come. The bench creaked under her small bag. Canvas, fraying at the seams, tied shut with a strip of cloth. Whatever was in it was light, or maybe just not worth carrying anymore. She was maybe 18, maybe, wearing a coat too big for her frame and a skirt too thin for the wind. No ticket, no hat, just the look of someone who'd walked away from something burning and didn't think to grab a match or a reason. The station agent had gone home. The old man with the broom had stopped sweeping. Even the dogs from town had wandered off, finding no handouts from the quiet girl on the platform. And then, sometime just after sundown, he came riding in. Dust caught in his coat, hat pulled low, horse slow and deliberate. He didn't dismount right away, just sat there watching her from the saddle. She didn't move, didn't even look up. The way her shoulders were drawn, though he could tell, she'd heard him coming from a long way off. He pulled the horse up to the edge of the platform. "You waiting on someone?" he asked, voice dry as the wind. She didn't answer. He dismounted. She turned her head a little but didn't rise. He saw her face then. Not soft, not hard. Just worn, like something once folded too many times. He took off his hat, ran a gloved hand through his hair. "You get off the train?" She finally looked at him. Her eyes were sharp. Not scared. Not empty either. Just watching. "No," she said. He nodded slowly. "Someone's supposed to meet you?" "No." He stepped up onto the platform, boots knocking dry wood. "So what are you doing here?" She blinked, once, thought about answering, then said, "I didn't know where else to go." That was it. No tears, no begging, just a simple truth laid flat, like a card on the table. He looked down at the bag, then back at her. "You got a name?" "Yes." He waited. She didn't offer it. He gave a quiet chuckle. Not mocking, just tired. "Well, I do," he said. She raised a brow. "Rhett Caldwell. I run a ranch out past Devil's Grin." She said nothing. Then after a pause, "Why are you here?" He nodded toward the trail behind him. "Came in for feed. Sheriff said the train brought trouble. Figured I'd see what kind." She lifted her chin, just a touch. "Do I look like trouble?" He studied her, then nodded once. "Yep." And then, like it was nothing, like it was as simple as choosing coffee or tea, he said, "You're coming with me." The horse didn't like her, didn't snap or buck, just kept shifting its weight, ears back, eyes flicking sideways every time she moved. But Rhett said nothing, just tossed her bag into the saddlebag and swung up behind it. "Can you ride?" She gave the horse a glance, then a nod. "I can stay on." "That'll do." She didn't ask where they were going. She didn't ask anything, just took the hand he offered and let him hoist her up. They rode in silence for the first mile. Her arms didn't wrap around his waist. Her chin didn't rest on his shoulder. She sat like a board, upright, stiff, unwilling to lean on anything, even if it might have made the ride easier. The trail wound east, then cut south through a shallow pass. Night had swallowed most of the hills before Rhett finally spoke again. "You from Texas?" "No." "Heading somewhere?" "Not anymore." He glanced over his shoulder. "You got kin?" "No." "You running from something?" She paused a moment. "From someone." He nodded once. "Is he going to follow?" "I hope not." That's when Rhett said nothing more. Just turned the horse toward home and rode harder. The ranch came into view under the thin blue wash of moonlight. Not much to look at. 2 barns, a wide porch, windmill half working, and a house that looked like it had grown out of the ground by mistake and just decided to stay. When the horse stopped, Rhett dismounted and reached for her hand again. She took it this time. "You got a name?" he asked again, now that it was darker, now that there was no station and no one else to hear. She hesitated, then said, "Clover." Rhett didn't react, just nodded and pushed open the gate. Inside, the house smelled of dust, with smoke, and something stewed long past supper. You hungry? She shrugged. He pointed to the hearth. There's bread in the tin. Salt pork in the larder. She didn't move. You waitin' on permission? She stepped forward and went inside. Rhett watched her as she moved past the table, her eyes scanning corners like someone who'd learned too many times how danger crouched in shadows. He watched her that night from the porch. She didn't sleep at first, just sat by the fire with the blanket he'd given her. Knees pulled tight to her chest, eyes half shut but never closed. At some point in the night, she whispered something. He didn't ask what. Didn't want to know just yet. Some things, if you dig too early, come up rotten. Next day, he didn't tell her to stay. Didn't tell her to help either. But she did. Fed the chickens. Hauled water. Even tried to patch the hinge on the coop door without asking where the nails were. Rhett watched her from the corner of his eye. She was fast. Smart. Knew how to use her silence. But there was something else too. A sharpness in the way she glanced toward the tree line, as if someone might still come. That evening, he brought her a coat. Not new, too big, but warmer than the one she had. She took it, nodded thanks, and asked, "Why are you helping me?" He chewed on that a minute, then said, "Because someone should have." That was it. No sermon, no demand, just the truth as he saw it. Next morning, she was gone. Not gone, just not in the house. Rhett saddled up fast, rifle on his back. But he found her near the fence line, kneeling in the weeds. He almost called out. Then he saw what she was doing, burying something small, a sparrow maybe, dead and cradled in her hands like it had been hers. She didn't cry, just stood up, wiped her hands on her skirt, and walked back without a word. That night, she told him what had happened. Not the whole thing, just one line. "He sold me for a horse." Rhett didn't ask who, didn't ask when. He just said, "You're not for sale anymore." She nodded once, then turned her face to the fire. The rain came hard that week. One of those rare West Texas downpours that soaks the land so fast, it doesn't have time to drink. The red dirt turned to mud. The barn roof leaked in 3 new places, and the chickens huddled under the porch like little ghosts. Clover didn't complain. She patched what she could, worked beside Rhett like she'd always been there. No orders given, none needed. She seemed to understand what had to be done before he even said it. By the 3rd morning, Rhett caught her fixing the fence behind the shed. Barefoot, soaked through, her braids stuck to her back like a black snake. He walked up slow, leaning on the rail. "You trying to drown out here?" She looked up, eyes squinting against the rain. "No." "Then why you doing it?" "Because it was broken." He grinned. "You're not even from here. You don't owe me anything." She stood and wiped her hands on her skirt. "That's where you're wrong." Rhett tilted his head. "How's that?" Clover looked him in the eye. "You gave me the thing nobody else did." "What's that?" "A way out." That night he brought out the whiskey. Not for her, he wasn't that kind of man, but for himself. He sat in the rocker by the fire, sipping slow, watching the flames crack and pop while Clover sat across from him, mending a torn feed sack. After a while, he said, "You ever kill a man?" Clover didn't blink. "Yes." He nodded, slow. She didn't explain. He didn't ask how or why or if she was sorry. That wasn't his business. Instead, he poured another glass and said, "If someone comes looking for you, you don't need to run again." Clover looked at him. "I'm not scared." "Good," he said. "Then you'll be fine here." 2 weeks passed. She stopped flinching when the wind banged the shutters. She laughed once, just once, when the goat knocked over the wash basin. And she started wearing the coat he gave her like it belonged to her. But Rhett noticed something else too. Every night, before she went to bed, she opened the little sack she kept hidden under the floorboard in the corner of the room. Just for a moment. Never longer. He didn't ask what was inside. Didn't feel like his place. But it burned in his gut. That curiosity. That need to know. Then one night it happened. He woke to the sound of a horse. Not his. Rhett sat up, hand on the rifle beside the bed. He moved to the window and saw a rider in the yard. Tall, wide shoulders, hat low. hoarse, steaming. He was calling out, "Rhett Caldwell. I know she's in there." Rhett opened the door slow, rifle held easy at his side. "She ain't yours," he called back. The man dismounted, spitting into the mud. "She ain't yours either." Clover stepped beside Rhett before he could answer. Her face was hard. "I told you not to follow me," she said. The man squinted. "I paid for you." "You paid my father," she said coldly. "Not me." He took a step forward. Rhett raised the rifle. "You want to ride out of here alive," Rhett said low. "You'll get back on your horse." The man looked at him, then at her. Then he spat again and turned. As he mounted, he said, "She's not worth dying for." Rhett didn't answer. Clover did. "I already did," she said. And with that, the man rode off. They didn't speak for a while after that. Just stood in the doorway, watching the moonlight paint the fields silver. Then, finally, Clover turned to Rhett. "He'll come back." Rhett nodded. "I know." She swallowed. "I can leave." "You're not leaving," he said. "You're not going anywhere." She looked at him, like maybe she hadn't expected that. Then she nodded, turned, and walked back into the house. The days turned heavy after that. Not louder, not busier, just thick with waiting. Rhett sharpened tools that didn't need sharpening. Clover started rising before the rooster. She fixed things that had already been fixed, restitched the curtains, cut firewood that hadn't been touched in years. Neither of them said it, but the weight of a return, his return, hung in every room. Rhett knew men like that. Men who thought ownership came with coin, who believed violence could undo rejection, who didn't just want a woman, they wanted submission, quiet, control. And he knew those kinds of men didn't ride away for good. They circled back. Always. Late one night, Rhett came in from the barn and found the door to her room open. She wasn't there. He looked to the front porch. Nothing. His boots hit the dirt, rifle slung, steps fast and silent. He found her down by the creek, standing in the water, arms wrapped around herself. Her dress clung to her knees, her braid undone. She didn't turn when he approached. "You cold?" he asked softly. "No." "You waiting for him?" A pause. "I keep thinking, maybe if I'm not afraid, he won't come." Rhett stepped closer, but didn't touch her. "Fear don't call a man like that," he said. "But strength confuses him." "Then let him be confused," she said almost to herself. That same night, when she returned to the house, Rhett was at the table with an oil lamp, a box between them. She sat. He opened it. Inside was a small revolver. Worn, clean, and oiled. "Yours now," he said. She stared at it. "You think I'll need it?" "I think you ought to be the last thing he sees." Clover picked it up, turned it in her palm. Her fingers didn't tremble. "Thank you." "Don't thank me," Rhett said. "Just don't miss." 3 nights later, the sound of hooves returned. Not one this time. 3. Rhett was already on the porch, gun across his lap, boots planted firm. Clover stepped out beside him, coat wrapped tight around her, revolver hidden in the fold. They came slow, torches lit, faces barely visible. The man from before was in front. He dismounted again, but he didn't yell, didn't spit. He just looked up at Rhett like it was business now. "She comes back, and we walk away." "She stays," Rhett said. The man's eyes shifted to Clover. "She's mine." "No," Clover said, her voice even. "I never was." He took a step forward. "Don't." It was Rhett this time. Not a shout, just a promise wrapped in a word. "You think this is over?" The man growled. Rhett stood. "I think this is where it ends." The man drew first. He never cleared his holster. Rhett's shot cracked like thunder, and the man dropped hard in the dust. The others froze. Didn't run, didn't speak. Just stared at the rancher who stood like stone, eyes hard, rifle smoking. "Pick him up," Rhett said. "Take him home." They did. Silent. When they rode off, the only sound left was the wind. Clover didn't cry, didn't speak. She just turned, went inside, and sat by the fire. Rhett joined her after. He poured 2 glasses. Whiskey this time. She didn't hesitate. Later, when the fire had died down and the night was soft again, Clover reached beneath the floorboard, opened her sack. Rhett watched, but said nothing. She looked inside for a long while, then handed it to him. He took it gently, looked inside, and there, folded and stained with time, were papers. A birth record, a letter, and a locket cracked with a picture of a woman who looked like Clover, only older. Smiling. "My mama," she said. Rhett held the sack close, like it was something sacred. Clover's voice was almost a whisper. "She always said I had to run far, but never stop finding home." Rhett handed the sack back. "You ain't got to run no more." She nodded, tears now not from fear, but release. Spring hit the land like a sigh of relief. The mesquites turned green again. The creek stopped choking on mud. And the sky, once gray and heavy, opened wide and blue like it had been holding its breath too long. Clover stood barefoot on the porch that morning, one hand on her hip, the other holding a pail of wash water. Her braids swung gently in the breeze. Rhett watched her from the edge of the barn, leaning on his shovel like he wasn't in a hurry anymore. Something had settled between them. Not romance, not yet, but something sturdier, like the way 2 halves of a broken yoke fit together again. Neighbors came by one, mostly to gawk at the strange woman now walking the Caldwell place like she'd always been there, but also to drop off eggs, share gossip, offer the kind of half-hearted apologies only country folk give after ignoring someone for too long. Clover met them all with a cool, polite smile. Never more than a few words, but always enough to make them wonder. Rhett didn't explain her. Didn't have to. Some things a man didn't explain, not if he wanted to keep him safe. Then came the day of the storm. Not the kind that rained. The kind that knocked on your door in broad daylight wearing a badge and asking questions. Marshall Hunt. Tall, aging, with a sharp mouth and slow boots. He didn't smile when Rhett opened the door. "You know why I'm here?" Rhett nodded. "You ain't gonna like it." "Never do," the marshal said. But words made it east. Man was killed out here. And not just any man. Son of a cattle baron who don't care about law, just blood. Rhett stepped aside. "You want coffee?" The marshal blinked, then nodded. "Yeah, black." They sat in silence while Clover brought out the mugs. The marshal's eyes narrowed at her. "You the one?" Clover looked at him, didn't speak. Rhett answered for her. "She's not the one who drew first." "That true, miss?" Clover's voice was low, steady. "He came to take me back. I wasn't his." "You shoot." "No," she said. "He didn't give me the chance." The marshal sighed, set his cup down. "Well," he said, standing, "if the cattle baron comes sniffin', I can't stop him." "Won't need you to," Rhett said. The marshal studied him, then Clover, then nodded once. "You're both tougher than you look." That night, Rhett asked her what she wanted to do. "I mean long term," he said. "You want to stay? You want to go north? Start fresh." She looked up from the hearth, where she'd been drying herbs she found near the creek. "I don't need new," she said. "I just need peace." He nodded. "You found it, you think?" She looked around the cabin, small, rough, patched with years of sweat and loss. Then she looked at him. "I think peace is a place that doesn't ask you to explain." Rhett leaned back. "I ain't ever asked." "I know," she said, smiling. They built a smokehouse that spring, planted squash near the old oak, put up new fencing together, each post planted like a promise that this land, this soil, belonged to them both in whatever way they needed it to. At night, they sat on the porch and listened to the wind, the coyotes, the hush of distance. One night, she said, "You think folks like us can start over?" Rhett tipped his hat back and looked at the stars. "No," he said, "but I think we can end better." Clover reached out, just enough for her fingers to touch his. And for once, neither of them pulled away.